Steve on?
Steve's on. Hi,
I'm
Steve.
here.
Hi, Steve.
Hello, hello, hello.
Okay, now, I guess if you came down from Ithaca, maybe the roads aren't that bad yet, but I guess you don't have to come down if you're doing a virtual thing here. But anyway, let's start the meeting. The meeting has a few items on it. First of all, on the agenda, the minutes from the November 18th board meeting. We've all had copies of it and chance to review the minutes. So I shall ask whether we have any corrections, comments, additions, deletions, what have you regarding those minutes.
Is this the meeting I had to leave early, and does that need to be
Yes.
mentioned?
You did leave early because your wife's car trouble. I don't know if we need to say anything about that. What do you think, Nate? Do we need to mention that?
The car trouble?
No,
Yeah.
the fact
Oh,
that-
no, the fact that I had to leave the meeting early.
That should be reflected in the minutes, just to show that, if there were ever any votes or anything taken after that, that you weren't present and participating in those.
Thank you.
Okay, do we need a motion to make that addition? Correction.
Okay, I'll move that then.
Okay, we need a second.
I bet I have to second it, don't I?
It looks that way.
Let's not-
Okay, we have a second, so I'll call the vote. Bob,
Yes,
Jason,
Yes,
and I'll vote yes as well. So the clerk will make that correction. And that will be part of the minutes going forward. Are there any other comments regarding those minutes?
no, it looked good to me.
I think other than that, they look good to me as well. So I will ask for a motion to go forward with those minutes with the addition that we mentioned, that we voted on to be added, and then that will be the final record. Do we have a motion?
Move it.
Do we have a second?
second,
And I'll call the vote. Bob,
Yes,
Jason,
yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. So Linda, that's the way to proceed on the minutes. Now, do we want to do the fairground sign before the abstract, Linda?
I would, yes.
Okay, because I didn't get that,
Yeah.
the update on that. Okay, so now, Steve, we're going to pick up where we left off at the last meeting regarding your request for a variance for the digital sign. One of the trustees has done a yeoman's work, yeoman's job researching this, and I am going to give the floor to Jason.
Mhm.
Jason, feel free to expound on the issues.
Okay. I'm gonna see if I can, does he have access to our chat, Linda? Can I get him a copy of my document? Let's
I don't
see.
know if Steve has access to the chat or not.
The chat?
Jason, I can email it to him.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna paste it in the chat. If he can't see it, then we'll have to email.
No, I do have access to it. Yep.
Okay, and what these are, Steve, are a list of my concerns. Essentially, once you see it, it'd probably be easier for me to just sort of guys through. So if you let me know once you can see that.
It's a 3-page document.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so my primarily concerns were ones of safety and aesthetics. And I broke them up into several sections here. As far as safety is concerned, thank you for submitting your studies. I've just happened to find other studies that contradicted a bit, so I was a bit concerned with that. And not direct contradiction saying the signs are not safe,
Mhm.
but rather bringing up data that is sort of in opposition to underlying points. The first being, granted, this is a Swedish, article saying that digital billboards have the potential to keep the driver's curiosity over an extended period of time Previous human behavior studies shown that drivers are hardwired to notice bright changing lights in their peripheral vision and to anticipate additional motion. Essentially saying that I imagine the whole premise of these signs is to catch people's attention, right? Or else you wouldn't be using them. The question is what is safe and what is not safe? The further studies, starting with Virginia Tech, get into a little bit more detail as far as how much time is involved, after the onset of distraction that the accident can happen. They seem to all agree on between 2 to 3 seconds. And also mentioned that some of the headway between cars are along the lines of 2 to 3 seconds. So anything that distracts somebody for more than 2 to 3 seconds is potentially dangerous. Feel free to stop me at any point. I'm just going to proceed through this.
Yep, that's fine.
And I know I just wrote this today, so I didn't give you a chance to adequately respond. So by all means, don't feel you need to at this very second. The third study, let's see, just shows that the changing of the billboards, the transitions, again, causes additional stimuli while you're driving that are difficult to ignore. Maybe argue to be a potential safety concern. The fourth is actually a study in Alabama and Florida where they actually did some analysis that revealed that the presence of the billboards increased the crash rates in that zone by 25 to 29%. And 5, again, more numbers showing that driver's attention was captured for more than 2 seconds in 22% of the cases. And referencing the earlier article, we don't have that much headway between vehicles on a busy road. So if you're distracting somebody for 2 seconds and you're only a second and a half behind the car ahead of you, as is the case when traffic is backed up on this road, I specifically reference things like, mornings with school happening where the buses are backed up during rush hour when traffic's backed up. It's a bit of a concern. And it doesn't, I'm not talking about deathly accidents, obviously at that speed, but it's something that would concern me. And last, we found that drivers made significantly longer glances off the road during approaches to digital signage. Drivers glanced at the billboard more during the switch between the ads. I had a question as how the 8 seconds that you switch between the ads, I assume that was a result of some study, or is there some state legislation that sets that number to be 8 seconds?
New York State does.
New York State does? Okay. Okay. So that study just shows the actual switching of the ads tends to increase the attention towards the sign and off of the road. So those are just general safety concerns. This is a stretch between 2 schools. It is a stretch with a lot of egress and ingress points along the way. Lots of places for people to get distracted and potentially cause a problem if they're looking at something else other than the road in front of them. So that's the safety. So as far as aesthetics are concerned, I referenced mainly the Broome County 239 review, where they outright recommended against this project for the sake of adding to existing sign clutter, setting a precedent for digital billboards in the area, which is something we as a board I know have been very vocal against. It has not been something our zoning board has really agreed with us, but as a village board and a planning board, we have made a comprehensive plan and a downtown strategic plan, back when I first started in 2011, 2012, that specifically outlined how we wanted to get away from, not digital signage, but billboards in general. And I imagine any of our future goals going forward would be to amortize out existing billboards rather than encourage new billboards to be put in place. So I referenced a couple things specific in the actual Broome County review and in our comprehensive plan. I don't know if you have a copy of our comprehensive plan.
I do.
Okay, I referenced specific pages, just showing that as a community, as a planning board, we've determined that Whitney Point is an important crossroads, and we have a regional significance. So it's important that the character of our village not be compromised. We have actually prohibited internally lit signs. We want to actually prohibit, the eventual prohibition / restriction of billboards, electric signs is these types of signs were singled out as not compatible anywhere or compatible with restrictions by survey respondents. When we made the comprehensive plan and downtown strategic plans, we sent out surveys to every village resident. And a large percentage, a majority of the people said that the billboards were a large negative. And it was something that they did not want to see more of. And lastly, as I mentioned before, that stretch of road is what the county considered an accident cluster because of the number of sort of odd ingress and egress points, the fairgrounds entrances and exits. It's just been subject to a lot of accidents. And I know there's been one fatality near that intersection, probably want to say about 10 to 12 years ago. I don't have the information specifically on that, but it's something that concerns us. We don't want to wait for fatalities. So anyway, I've given you a copy of that. You're welcome to look through it. If you have any sort of response or anything, you're welcome to do it now, or you're welcome to let us know.
I mean, I had sent to Linda, and I'm sure, Linda, you shared all those links that I had sent with everyone.
Yeah.
You could find study after study. I could find a study that's going to support it, saying that there's no real negative impact versus an existing billboard and a digital billboard having any differing impact on a driver that goes by. And then you could find another study that could contradict that. Mm-hmm. So we could probably go tit for tat on studies, and that's really just going to come down to what really your appetite is for something like that. It wouldn't be an addition of a billboard. It would be replacing an existing billboard. I would also let you know that when I talked about the approval process, once I have the approval from the landowner, which I received, and what I'm working on now is the local approval, I still have the state approval that I need to get. And one of the things that they'll do is they'll kick it over to their traffic and safety division, and they'll do a comprehensive study along the roadway. They look at the accidents that have happened over the roadway, and they look at it from a safety perspective, much like what you're trying to do from the village side of things. I do know also, when I did meet with the zoning board, and you referenced to that sometimes you don't see eye to eye when it comes to the signs that are there. It was alluded to in reference as far as the character of the community, almost taking the community and saying that we have a downtown, if you will, where the main street is, and then you have the corridor of Route 11, which is a little bit more commercial, with your McDonald's and your gas stations and your Dunkin' Donuts, and along that stretch, there are already signs that are in place that are flashing digital signs, which ours is not a flashing digital sign, but Dunkin' Donuts has a sign, the school has a sign, and then there's also a sign with Aiello's at the corner. So I think that it's been our experience from a park outdoor perspective, working in smaller communities like this, that these have been received in a positive light. I won't kid you and say that when something like this is new in an area, they're used to seeing a sign and all of a sudden there's a digital sign there. There is a little bit of, I call it a shock factor, if you will, where somebody would be like, oh, I didn't notice that before, and now I notice it. And we may receive some phone calls on that, and somebody may say, well, that's rather bright. It really boils down that there's something they're seeing that they weren't used to seeing there before. The technology that's built into those digital billboards is one that takes into reference federal highway administration and local DOT regulations as far as what's the brightness of it. And again, this is a technology that is more in tune with reaching the consumers of today, whether they be a consumer that's traveling, whether they be a consumer that's in a village, or whether they're appealing more toward a business and how they can market themselves in an area in order to compete and survive. It is something that is a little bit more ahead of its time from a future perspective. And I know Whitney Point is kind of a community that wants to keep its character in place, and I think that they do with that Main Street corridor. I think that this corridor that we're looking at, especially since it's the beginning of that commercial section, if you will, with a lot of the businesses along that stretch of Route 11. I certainly would see if we were looking to add something at a different place, how different it would be. But this is something where we're just looking to convert that existing billboard. And I'd be welcome to take what you put together, Jason, because it looks very comprehensive. If I were to read on each one of those, it looks like each one of those studies you spent a lot of time reading and looking at and putting this all together. I guess that again, will just come down to I think the village's appetite for something like this, and if it's something that they could get behind and support for the local businesses.
Well, I apologize for swinging that on you at the last minute. And thank you for humoring me and going through those explanations. I appreciate it.
Okay, does anybody else have anything to add to the conversation?
Steve, you referenced the other lighted signs that are along that way, ILO's, Dunkin' Donuts. How does the billboard size compare to those?
Size-wise or brightness?
Size-wise.
Size-wise, I mean, the billboard that's there right now is what we call a poster-size billboard, or a 12 by 24. That one technically is 10 by 30, which is 300 square feet. This would be slightly smaller, but aesthetically would look the same when it's wrapped and encased. So it's larger than the one that's at the school, and it's certainly larger than the one that Dunkin' Donuts has. The
It would be
difference,
larger than ILO's too, correct?
yeah, the difference with those,
It would be
those ones-
larger than anything else in the village.
yes, that's currently there, yes.
See, that's a concern for me, that we're headed, it was one thing maybe to have some electronic signs. It's another to have an enormous one and set the precedent that all up and down that pathway there could be a lot of the 300 square feet of signs. I share Jason's concern that he did a heck of a job of doing some research. I'm concerned about the planning and the plan, what do you call it? I'm getting old. God.
Comprehensive plan.
The plan for the village there.
Comprehensive plan.
Comprehensive plan. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word comprehensive. And I also have concern about the distraction piece of it. And I'll just share with you that I have personal concern with that, because about a year and a half ago, I was coming northbound on 11 and turning right into the gas station there across from the fairgrounds. And there was an auction going on in the fairgrounds. And the truck that came along behind me was busy trying to look at the fairgrounds to see what was going on, rather than watching what was happening in the traffic. And I got rear-ended and spun around into the gas station. So I know that it's a place of distraction. It is already. And I'm a little nervous about adding to that distraction factor along that way. I appreciate you're talking about helping the community and helping the advertisers promote stuff. I do share a concern with setting a precedent of such enormous electronic signs and going against our comprehensive plan. And I also share the concern Jason raised about distractibility. But thank you for listening.
I want to mention one more thing regarding the existing signs that Steve pointed out. And they exist and they're there and they're part of the community, but they were put there not without controversy, going back to when they were proposed, and some of them didn't exactly adhere to instructions. But the point is that the zoning board did approve them. Several of them were put up, but there was controversy to the point that there was some one or two members of the zoning board resigned. So because going back to when I was the mayor previously, and we did that comprehensive plan, Jason's right. It was the survey was well attended. We got a lot of responses about a variety of issues, but uh, I I can't remember the exact percentage, but it was the percentage wanting to limit signage on in general on Main Street and Route 11 was significant, was quite high.
62% had a poor to negative opinion of the signage, the billboards.
Yep.
So, and honestly, where my mind is going, and I know nothing's been said about this officially, but I can only imagine the next step is to digitize the signs on the other end of the fairgrounds. I mean, is that?
Well, Steve, you might be. I will mention to that effect. I was contacted by one of the fair board members a month or so ago, saying that their actual plan was to do both of the park outdoor boards, but start with this one, see how it goes, and do the other one, which is near the middle school at the other end of the fairgrounds. That never was projected by you or anybody to the ZBA or the planning board here. But I did hear out to from the guy, he was requesting if some of the fair board could come and talk, and I reached back to him, but never heard back. He never got back to me. So it became an empty conversation, but that's the first we heard of it. And I think that might be what you're alluding to, Jason, but
Well, I didn't hear anything specific. I'm just thinking, what's the next step here? Right. I mean, nobody's told me anything, but as far as I'm afraid of the precedent this is going to set. And these concerns are going to come up again and again and again and again. So, and that just seems like the next time we're going to hear about it. So,
if I could say that I was never part of any conversation talking about anything other than what I'm presenting on now.
I wasn't trying to be accusatory.
No, I thought that you probably were not, but that the fair board had not approached you like that. But that apparently was their, at least from several of that was their ultimate goal there. But be that as it may, we're not talking about that other sign. We're talking about the one at the north end.
I would say that New York State DOT has a law that says that digital signage has to be properly spaced at 2,500 feet apart. So that stretch of road is not going to allow, looking same direction, wouldn't allow another digital billboard to be placed along that side because it's either 2,500 feet or line of sight, either or.
Okay. Nate, do you have any comments?
No, I mean, I think that the board has voiced several concerns regarding safety and aesthetics specific to this particular intersection, which they're very concerned about it being a very easily an area prone to distraction already, and increasing the level or opportunity for distraction is a really valid concern. If the board's got any more questions, I would say ask them. Otherwise, if the board feels it's ready for a motion, it seems like it's leaning towards denial. A motion to deny it would be, I think, the next step. There's no need to review seeker specifically. Just to recall or refresh everyone, seeker is going to be reviewed as an uncoordinated review by the zoning board and then the village board if approval is going to be considered. But if you're contemplating denial, we don't have to do the seeker review itself.
Right. Okay. Now, do we have any more comments or discussion regarding the application?
If I could add one thing, David, when we've been in discussions with other municipalities at different times, one thing that has come up, and Jason referenced it through the comprehensive plan, the other billboards that are along there, those were built by a prior entity. I think it was probably Mid-State, I think was the name of the company that had built those years ago, and Park acquired them at some point in time. We have worked out agreements with municipalities where we could potentially, and for lack of a better term, but this is what we use, horse trade for something like that, where you could identify one or two other billboards or structures and say, okay, we'll go ahead and allow you to build your digital billboard, but you're going to need to remove this and this. So in effect, removing something as part of a negotiation to put this one in. I would just put that out there as a, since you're leaning towards, like Nathan said, leaning more towards denial. I hear Jason and Bob talk about that. That's something for consideration.
So I'll just jump in. I mean, insofar as the board is, I think, clearly contemplating denial based on safety and aesthetic concerns, any negotiations regarding a change in the zoning code about how billboards are treated, or specifically digital billboards, or a process to update the comprehensive plan. I mean, there's a whole lot that nobody's going to figure out tonight. You know, I appreciate, Steve, your willingness, or your continued pursuit of the digital sign and billboard business. But I just don't think any piece of that discussion is appropriate for what's squarely in front of the board today, which is just the question of approval or denial of this billboard in this location at this time.
Okay. Jason, Bob, have anything more to add?
Are we able to act on this tonight with 2 members missing?
Yes, we have a quorum. The fact of the matter is, the only thing we could do with the quorum is to deny, because to approve, we would need a supermajority. And with the 2 absentees, we wouldn't be able to do that. But if we were to move to deny the digital application, that could be done. That's correct, right, Nate?
Yes, that's correct.
Is that a majority of voting members present or a majority of the board?
A majority of the entire board. So all 3, in order to effectuate a denial, all 3 would need to vote to deny. If it went 2-1, the vote would fail. There would be no action, and the matter would stay on the agenda for the next board meeting.
Do we have any idea how long it'll be before the state weighs in on this?
The state would only weigh in if you approve locally.
I thought you had said that you had sent them stuff. Sorry, I misunderstood that.
Well, at this point, I'll ask, is either one of you trustees prepared to make a motion to deny the application?
As it stands, I plan to move that we deny the application based on the fact that the harmonious uses, the harmonious relationship between such uses and the uses located in the districts is reflected in the comprehensive plan. It just does not seem compatible.
All right, there's a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. I'll call the vote. Bob,
Yes,
Oh, yes is
to deny.
to deny. Okay.
I thought the motion was to deny.
Right,
That's right.
exactly.
I was just making
That's
sure.
correct. That's correct.
So am I
Jason.
right?
Yes,
I'm voting correctly.
to deny.
Yes, and I will join the two trustees with the same vote to deny. Steve, I must say, the existing billboard, which the ZBA approved the same, I mean, they didn't have a say on the digital matter, but the existing type of billboard is fine.
Right. Yeah, it's
And-
legal non-conforming, right?
And to be clear, actually, I believe the zoning board granted the area variance because the question was simply the size of the sign. And so it's not even a legal non-conforming, grandfathered use. It's approved, and as a variance that'll be on the books for forever, basically.
Well, Steve, we appreciate your patience.
No, I appreciate your time. It's been a long process for me, one that I started a little over a year ago, and that's just the way that my business works. These things take a long time to work through, but I appreciate everyone's time on this, and Jason, your effort that you put together with all of the information, and it's just the way the business works. Sometimes you win some and sometimes you lose some. And, I appreciate the efforts of everybody in the village, and maybe at some point in time, should something change, we can always revisit it later on down the road, maybe.
Yes.
Yes.
So thank you so much for your time, everyone. And I wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
You too, Steve.
Well, thank you. We all wish you the same. We appreciate the way you do business, and that's quite a compliment, because you do have a good business. Park is a good business, and we wish you success in the future. Have a happy holiday and stay
you.
safe.
Thank you very much. You as well. Have a good night, everyone.
Okay.
Cheers, Steve.
Good night. Okay, next.
Mayor,
What?
I was just
Yes.
before I lose this train of thought, I think
Sure.
Jason's thought of amortizing the existing digital signs so that they are required to be taken down, it's not a bad idea. And I think a review of the sign code specifically by a committee of the board to update it would be a very helpful process for the code enforcement officer. I think you could get some buy-in from the zoning board in the process of updating it, kind of get their involvement, input, and it'd be a way to educate them a little bit as well about how the village board thinks the zoning code should be interpreted. It would be a process. It's not something that I don't like to simply, I'd have my office look at your zoning code and suggest a bunch of changes and have you guys adopt them in the course of a month or two. To me, that's not the best way to make it work. But I just wanted to say, I would recommend you guys do that and set a committee up today. So that way, about a year from now, we might have a really good finished product that can really get the support of everybody in the community.
Yes. Well, I think that suggestion is well taken, because it may be time to review all of our zoning. The code, our code enforcement has asked about that, and it's something we need to do, not just signage. But the other thing, and you may be aware of this, we had a resignation on the ZBA. I have to make a replacement. I was going to deal with that and I will deal with that later on in new business. But um, uh, so there's a couple things that all work together there. But yes, I think your specific suggestion about tweaking the sign section of the zoning law is overdue. So moving along, we will go to the abstract. We all have copies of the abstract. So are there any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the various details in the abstract?
We haven't received a lot of the bills yet, which is what concerns me. So,
Yes.
Like in the mail, they haven't arrived.
yeah, we haven't gotten them. But we're like a week early though, too. I mean, usually we're the 4th week of the month and this
Oh.
is the 3rd. So I would imagine we've got both health insurances that haven't come in. We've got all the credit card statements that haven't come in. So they usually come in within the next week or so.
Yeah. Well, Linda and I have talked about the mail in general. It's always the busy time of year with Christmas cards and pack, but even more so with this year, there's more things. And the post office, as many of you know, was downsized considerably in the last 6 months, and things are not going well in general. There are a lot of problems with postal deliveries, and we're seeing a lot of it locally, and that has, I'm sure, a big effect on bills not coming in when we would expect them to. So we'll just have to bear with it, I guess. But regarding the ones that are here and the part of the abstract that we can deal with, are there any comments?
Like normal bills.
Yeah, they are. They're all normal bills. Nothing's out of whack at all. There's been no special breakdown, I should say, or something that had to be replaced or fixed or,
No, and that's good.
yes, it is.
So if they're all normal and if we looked at them long enough, we'll ask for a motion to pay the bills.
Move it.
Second,
And I will call the vote. Jason,
Yes.
Bob,
yes.
and I will also vote yes. So we will pay those bills.
You,
And next, Nate, you're on for the attorney's report.
Yep. So not a whole bunch to, I think, report on. Of course, we just had the Park Outdoors application review by the village board. Ken did send me over a new application for a signed site plan review. This is, I think it's been mentioned before. It's over at the LG&T office. They're looking to add some signage. Ken has asked me a question about how the total signage for the property should be computed, which I responded to him a little earlier today. So hopefully he'll be moving that along from his office with a denial or approval. Aside from that, not a whole lot, at least that immediately comes to mind. And I'm sure Linda will remind me if I'm missing something.
Well, interject if something comes to mind, but other than that, thank you for the report such as it is, and we'll move to the clerk
Oh,
treasurer.
Can I just say,
Sure.
Nathan, thank you for your training. I appreciated the opportunity to be at your training there a week or so, 2 ago, and did a good job.
Thanks. It was interesting pre-recording myself and then playing it later on, because during the actual presentation, I was like, I'm just sitting here now. It was kind of nice.
It was different.
Media star. All right, so now we go to the clerk treasurer's report. Linda?
it's just the monthly closing out of the books.
Okay. Now, code officer, did everybody get a copy of the code report?
Yes.
Anything to mention about the code report? Is as Nate said, there's a few other things popped up, and he's communicating quite well with Ken is communicating closely with Nate, such as the sign he just mentioned. So, and the mayor gets copied on all of Ken's communications. So we're well aware of what's going on, I guess. Then there's the dog control report. I have the dog control report was higher than we're used to dollar wise. However, uh, the expenditure was a little higher than we anticipated.
I see you
Hopefully
kept
it's an
having,
anomaly, huh?
I see you kept having stray dogs that when by the time he gets here, you can't find.
Right.
Well, he seems to be making several. There were a couple times where they came out twice. Roll calls add up because of mileage, and typically are on a weekend, and can't find them. You're right, Bob. So
I saw the one somebody took it into the house and then called him, which was
yeah,
good because he was able
so
to
we'll just have to live with it.
from there.
That's
See,
right.
he was up in the Heights neighborhood here.
Right, right. We talked about that. I wonder if it was one of those dogs down on the corner that seems to
I don't
wander
know.
around. I don't know, but anyway, we'll
Was
we'll
it a
keep our-
beagle-like thing? Was it a beagle-like dog?
I don't think the one up here was it?
I don't know, but I do
No,
have
I
a new
think
beagle down there, type dog. Sorry.
um, older dog. There was an older beagle. The older dog was a beagle wandering around. I think he finally got that one.
Okay.
And and then he took it to the shelter, and his key wouldn't work. And so then he went back to the shelter to get another key, and we got billed for that. But
Yeah.
as a part of the
I
roll,
saw that.
but in any case, better to
Yeah.
move forward, I guess. So that's it for dog control. Then there's the public works report that Scott put through. I would just add one thing that he didn't happen to write down on his things that he did in November, which is that he did order the parking lot signs. We'll talk more about that later, but the parking lot signs are on order through the trophy business on Main Street, but they haven't arrived yet. And once they arrive, Scott and Josh will put them, the two of them, at that public parking lot. Now, that's it for the reports. Linda, you've got on here the resolution for some sort of COVID-19 resolution. You want to
Right. We just
expound on
need
that?
to ratify the vote for the pay for
Sandy,
for
or
all
for
employees
anybody
who
that,
were affected by the quarantine.
okay, you want,
Sorry,
explain that a little, in a
yeah,
little,
Dropbox. I don't think I gave you the vote
no, I don't have that, but you
actual
can,
resolution. Sorry, David.
okay.
It's the same one that we utilized before during the whole shutdown period.
Right, I understand it was a repeat, but the thing is, if the trustees have seen it and understand it, I guess we can,
We just need to ratify the vote
Just-
that you've already done for it.
we could, we have to move it again, right?
Yes.
Okay, does one of you guys want to move that again?
Whose turn is it, Jason? Mine?
Your turn.
Okay, I move it.
Second.
Okay, second? You second it, Jason?
Yes,
Okay, I'm gonna call the vote. Bob,
Yes.
Jason,
yes.
and I'll vote yes as well.
Thank you.
So that's done for that. Now we can go to old business. Does anybody have any old business? Of course, the mayor does, but does anybody else have old business?
I want to thank the mayor and the family for the tree, the Christmas tree that's representing the village over at Saving Grace.
All right, it's
Even though
our
we didn't do
pleasure.
a community tree lighting this year. The tree is still there.
Yeah,
The family purchased the tree and
I'll mention a little bit about that when we get, but anyway, I'll move into my little bullets here for old business. At the last meeting, we talked about the request, the idea that Shady Maple trailers up in Lyle wanted to have water service hookup. Brendan of Lamont is has been approached by Shady Maple to design a water system. So he's been sort of our contact with the owner there. It's moving along. Brendan's been talking to him and filling Scott in. Point is, the owner has to talk directly to Scott as well, and the owner has to get a water application, and he hasn't come in to get that yet. But he's the one that wanted to move quickly, so you might might have to do it when the weather's not so good. But in any case, everything's on going forward on that. I talked about the parking lot signs. The one day last week, I noticed that the abandoned car was not there. Somehow it disappeared. Whether the long lost owner came back from jail or Timbuktu or something, or somebody stole it, I do not know. I don't know, but the car is not there. So it's not our problem now. But we're still putting the signs up that this
Yeah.
issue generated. But that's the status of the car. It's not here.
That's too bad. I did check with the fire chief and he was
Yeah.
with his hands on it. too.
Right. Well, check with Greg, see if he took the car. But the point is, I don't think he did. But the thing is, if such a thing occurs again, we'll keep Greg in mind on
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Okay. The other thing is, the ZBA did approve the McDonald's sign, which was not digital. There's nothing we have to do as a planning board, but they took care of that. And so that's done. NYMER, we sent the thing in to NYMER, which was a report of what the NYMER had sent us a report on what needed some attention. We responded within the 60-day limit, and Scott's taking care of the issues that were addressed. One of which, Bob, is the electric service at the fire station. It's prone to get, people are putting stuff in front of it. So I think the best thing is we're going to, Scott's putting tape there, tape off a little area, which and we'll instruct the people to don't put stuff in there, just so you know about it.
that's the electrical panel box.
Okay.
They're blocking that basically.
Yeah, it's an insurance violation. But also the guy, Jay Lewandowski, that did he's the local NYMER guy, and he's been in direct contact with Scott about some other issues that we didn't get dinged on or anything, but they're just, things that we might be aware of that could be advantageous to us. So that's good. Communication is good. The Christmas tree, traditionally the village and the Shakespeare Club joined together, and also groups from the school. You all know it's a nice thing. We couldn't have it this year. Typically, since the event moved over to the Grace Church property, Gary Burchell has been kind enough to donate the Christmas tree. We couldn't really reach Gary for the tree. We got the tree from Gary, but yes, it didn't need publicity. But Linda's correct. We just went out, and my wife gets more credit than I do, and we just put money in we paid for the tree, and Scott and Josh put it up. My wife and daughter did put the lights on, and it went on last Friday, and they were the only ones there when it went on. But it is on. You should see it. I think the timer comes on at 6 or something at night, and we have the village tree. Um, I mentioned code. I was going to mention that we looking to do the zoning code, and as Nate brought it up. Some ongoing issues that we're waiting on, LWRP, and Danielle had mentioned chasing fire station grants last time. There's nothing further on those things, but they're just remaining in old business. Does anybody have any comments, anything for new business?
That the village office will be closed tomorrow due to the weather.
Yes, and it will be because Linda and I were talking about that, and I know the Whitney Point School is closed, and many schools have closed. There, a lot of places are closed, and we want everybody to stay safe. And that's one order of new business. We will not be open for business in the morning here. I mentioned the ZBA vacancy. Sharon Ball has submitted her resignation. She's got a health issue, so I'll need to appoint a new member of the ZBA. So if anybody has any suggestions or contacts or comments to help us along on that, I would certainly appreciate it. We've limped along with shortages on the ZBA in the past, but it's best to have a full complement. So especially if we're looking for a super majority on something, but so keep that in mind. The storm, I was going to mention the storm. Linda brought it up, so we don't really need to talk about that more. We're going to get a boatload of snow tonight. We're part of the county's 2021 shared services plan. I filled out some comments and made some. So I'm listed as one of the municipalities are all part of it. Everybody who did something is part of it, and the plan was created, and now we all have to sign off on it, which I will do. And the 2021 shared services plan indicates the things we do with other municipalities, like the town of Triangle, the town of Barker, anything that at all. And it was good job. I read it when it came through, and we'll sign it off and keep a copy. Also, and I mentioned it earlier before the meeting to Bob, the DOT reached out, called me yesterday, requesting a meeting for the Route 11 bridge project, which they're starting to get off the ground, or they want to start to get it off the ground. And I'm all for that because I have a history of dealing with DOT where things took forever to get off the ground. But they wanted a preliminary meeting with the mayor, the water superintendent, and the fire chief. Now, the fire chief works during the day, and the meeting would be during the day. So, Bob, do you think you would be interested in being the representative from the fire department?
Well, I certainly can. I think I would want to check with Greg though to see
Okay.
if one of the other officers or somebody is available during
Okay.
the day to do that. It might be
Okay.
a better thing.
When we had the same kind of meeting for the other bridge back when I was mayor, the fire chief didn't want to be part of it. So, and actually, I was the only one, and Jim Gilligan
Yeah.
went to some of the meetings that were here local. But ask Greg, see what he thinks. But I already told the DOT that we would be available on Thursday at 11 o'clock. It's going to be a digital meeting, a virtual meeting, and it will be for about 1 hour.
And it's January 7th, right?
January 7th. Yes. Did I say that? Well, whether I did or didn't, that's when it is. It's January 7th.
What time is it?
January
11 a.m.
7th, 11 a.m. Details to follow. But I did send the lady the information, and Scott's okay with that time. So he's definitely going to be part of it. And it's, if somebody from the fire department comes, let's put it this way, they're welcome to be on it. It's not an absolute requirement, but we're putting it out there. because,
I have a doctor's appointment at 1:30, so I would be able to be on for an hour or
well,
an
that
hour and a half.
it wouldn't
Hopefully
be
it
any,
won't be any longer.
it wouldn't be any more than an hour. 11 11 to 12 on that, on the 7th is a Wednesday, I think. Well, let me know on that because
Yeah.
we'll have the meeting nonetheless, anyway. But the thing is, I told the lady, I said, you know, when I started out as a trustee in 1991, one of the first meetings I attended was with DOT. And they were all excited because the Route 79 bridge was planned for 1997 to replace that old structure we had there. I said, okay, great. And you know how that went. It kept getting pushed out, pushed out, pushed out. Finally, they started it in around 2016, finished it in 2018. So these things can happen or not happen, as the case may be. So what we know so far, and we got it from the 239 report that the county did for the McDonald's sign. They are going to replace the Route 11 bridge and extend the sidewalk on the north side of Route 11 up to Kybel Road. Also, they are considering some kind of traffic control device near the middle school, right where the buses come in and out. Not necessarily a full-blown signal, but at least something to enable pedestrians to cross safely, maybe a blinker or something along those lines. That's to be determined. But you know, all the more reason, and of course that's near that other billboard that I mentioned in the previous discussion. But anyway, it's a good thing to have a meeting with DOT. Eventually, they will have public meetings, which will be at this point virtual. We used to have them in the high school, if you remember, and that was a good place for them, or even in the middle school. We've had them there, but this would be virtual. But we are not there yet. We need to. This is DOT's way to let the village, the municipality, have some input. So it behooves us to take advantage of that. That's all I have for new business.
I just want to mention that they put out a state of emergency for Broome County for unnecessary travel.
Yes. They have. It was put out early on, and it's in effect right now. I think the only ones that have to go anywhere are you and I, Linda, but everybody else is home. So stay home. I guess that's the best thing to do. And so it.
David?
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity to talk to the town supervisor about the fire?
Because when Sandy called me and said she was exposed, is when she was sick, and I happened to see Charlie the next day or so in here when we were shutting it down. I said, Charlie, I got to talk to you about some things, but now's not the time.
I wondered.
But so I put him on. I didn't say what we were going to talk about, but I said I got to talk to you about a couple of things. So he knows but I want to talk to him likely next week about
whatever.
Yeah, no, but I want to talk to him before the end of the month on certain things. And but in the meantime, the town has virtually opened up the building to the public at the other end. I'm not happy with that, but DOT is having hours now, and I think they're doing it by appointment. But incidentally, there was a huge auction up at Manassas on Henry Street, and it turned out, as you might have expected, to be a super spreader event. So people are coming down with the virus who were at that event. Not happy about that either, but you need to be aware of it. So we'll all do the best we can to enjoy the holidays. I encourage everybody to try to do the best they can to enjoy the holidays. It'll be difficult. It'll be different, but we can make it through. And I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, because this is the last meeting of this godforsaken year. We return to our normal meeting schedule in January, and the second and fourth Wednesdays. And I guess if we ever have to change those dates, we will, but for now, that's how it's going to be. And thank you all for your what you do. And let's just keep doing it. That's it. Meeting is adjourned.
Okay.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Hey, Jason,
Yes, sir.